Mistletoe, that's what Christmas means to me, my love. Oh, yeah.
What's up, you guys? Welcome back to Vlogmas Day 12, 11. I never know what day it is, especially now that I'm working from home. I really have no idea what day it is at any point in time. So today's video, I wanted to discuss how to go about starting counting your macros. What do you need to do to start? Maybe you aren't ready for a coach, or maybe you just want to learn a little bit more about it before you hire a coach to help you, and I totally get that. So I'm just gonna cover 5 tips to begin counting your macros, just to kind of get you guys started. And then from there, if you're confused about anything at all, you can reach out to me via email. It's always in the description box, and I would be happy to help you understand a little bit more about macros. So the first step is to establish your baseline or your maintenance calories. And the only way to really do that, I mean, you can do a calculation and figure it out, but the best, most accurate way to go about finding your baseline or your set point or your maintenance level is to, 1, track your current intake. So just take what you're normally eating every single day, log it into an app. We recommend the My Macros Plus app, and I do have other videos that kind of explain how to use that. And also, while you're tracking your intake for maybe 1 to 2 weeks, you want to weigh in daily to get your body weight measurements every single day. And I know you're probably like, I don't want to weigh in every day. The number on the scale freaks me out. The reason why we have most of our clients weigh in every single day is because that gives us more data to go by. So essentially what we're doing is we're comparing your weekly weigh-ins, so week 1 to week 2 versus every single day. Your body weight fluctuates every day, so it's important to not compare like today's weigh-in with tomorrow's, because there's so many different variables and factors that go into your body weight. How much water you drank or didn't drink, how much sodium you had that day, how much food you ate, generally speaking, your sleep, your stress, all of that factors into your body weight, which I don't think a lot of people realize, and they kind of just think that this body weight number is telling them, you know, how much fat they have on their body, when in reality you don't know what that number is exactly from. So it's just a tool we use, and we like to track your weekly fluctuations, not your daily fluctuations. So that's why we recommend getting as much data as you can, get your weekly average and compare it to the week before. If that number is kind of the same and it's pretty much in a 1 to 3 pound range, then you know that these calories that you're eating are in fact your maintenance level. If you're losing weight, you know that you're in a deficit with these calories. And if you're gaining weight, you know that this is too much and too high for your maintenance level. If you do want to go the faster route and maybe you don't have 2 weeks to play around with this, there is a calculation you can do, and we do have an ebook that is on sale for pretty cheap right now if you guys want to go check that out. It goes through the whole 9 yards and how to set your macros via that calculation. Alright, so now you have your maintenance intake. You have to decide if you want to gain or lose weight. Some people want to gain muscle, some people want to lose body fat. A lot of people want to do both of those things, but I do think it's important to choose one goal at this time and stick with that for a while, and then you can switch and do the other goal after. So I would say if you're 30% body fat or higher, I would focus on fat loss first. And if your body fat percentage is lower than 30%, then you can kind of go either way. It just really depends on what your goals are and what you want to achieve. Once you adjust those calories to either fat loss or muscle gain, I like to start with just subtracting by like 200 calories for most people. There are obviously exceptions to that rule, but for fat loss, I'll take 200-ish out from their maintenance. And if they do want to gain muscle, I will bump up their maintenance calories about 200 or 300 to start, let their body adjust, and then we continue to make jumps or subtractions from there. So your body is going to adapt to whatever macros and calories that you are feeding it. So that is why a lot of people think there's like a magical macro number that works for everyone or that will work forever, and that's just not true. So you will have to continuously update your calories and macros, and every person is different. There's not really a set plan to follow with that. So you kind of just have to continue tracking your body weight and seeing, you know, maybe after a couple weeks your body really has hit a plateau. Granted, you should be making sure this is a true weight loss or weight gain plateau. in stress or sleep, and all those things aren't involved too. So as soon as you do hit that plateau, you will have to adjust those numbers again. And you're probably like, okay, Alessandra, I know I have to adjust them, but I don't even know what my numbers are at first. So to keep it simple, your protein intake should be between 0.8 and 1 gram per pound of your lean body mass. And you're probably like, I don't know what my lean body mass is. So if your goal is fat loss, I would just start your intake at 0.8 grams of protein per pound of your body weight and go from there. That's a good rough range to start. The next macro we calculate is fats. Fats can be between 20 to 30% of your daily caloric intake, so that's an easy way to find your fats. If you tend to like the higher side of fats, I would go on the 30% side. If you don't really like fats and you prefer carbs over fats, I would go 20 or 25% of your intake. And then whatever's left is for carbs. So that's kind of the easiest way to go about calculating your macros. And if you go and use those online calculators, they will probably all be different and tell you different things. And that's because they're not factoring in your dieting history most of the time. And that plays a huge role. So keep that in mind. You may be calculating your maintenance numbers from the calculation, but that's like so much more than you're currently eating, or maybe that's so much less than you're currently eating. So there are obviously outliers when it comes to these calculations, which is why I think it's important to have a coach or to have somebody check over your numbers to make sure that this is good for you and that your body is responding well to these numbers. Again, all of this information is in our ebook, so you can download that immediately if you guys want. I'll link it below in the description. So step number 2 would be to purchase a food scale if you don't have one already. A food scale is the best way to track your intake, weigh out your portions, and learn what true portion sizes are. I've done multiple videos on food scales, so I'm not going to elaborate too much on that right here, but I will link those videos for you guys to learn more about why we suggest using food scales and what they can teach you. Another thing to note is you don't have to use those forever. So if you're thinking like, oh my god, I don't want to weigh out all my food for the rest of my life, you don't have to. But at the beginning, it is important to teach yourself proper portion sizes, and using a food scale is the best way to go about that. So once you're tracking, you have your numbers, you've been like logging your foods, you've been weighing out your foods using your food scale, one of the most important tips I have for you guys is to follow an 80-20 rule. All that means is that about 80% of your day is full of nutrient-dense foods or whole foods. Some of you may call these clean foods or healthy foods. I don't like to put labels on it, so I call them nutrient-dense foods. They're packed with nutrients, they're good for you, and they make you feel good. So about 80% of your day should be filled with those foods. That leaves about 20% for you to eat foods that you enjoy that may not be as considered healthy or nutrient dense. So things like ice cream or chocolates or cookies. You can fit any of those things within your day as long as you're 1, meeting your macro and calorie numbers, and 2, still eating a lot of the nutrient-dense foods. You're hitting your fiber goals, and there's no issues with that. A lot of people think you have to restrict and be miserable and eat only clean foods all day long, and that's just not the case. And remember that there's room for error with this. Flexible dieting is exactly that. It's flexible, so if there is one day where you're out and you didn't pack any foods and you need to stop at Starbucks and grab something for lunch, it works. Most restaurants and cafes or whatever you're eating can be easily tracked, if not estimated, and you can still continue about the rest of your day without being totally off track. I have 2 more tips for you guys, so bear with me. The next one would be to plan out your meals and your day ahead of time. This is probably the most beneficial tip I can give those who are new to tracking their macros, because it can be really overwhelming trying to hit these numbers when you have no idea what to eat. And it does get easier when you learn more about what's in the foods that you're eating and what a protein is, what a carb is, what a fat is. It does get easier and it becomes more common sense. But for now, take out your phone, open your My Macros Plus app, and just try to plan out all of tomorrow as best as you can. And a good way to do this is to just, start with breakfast. Pick out a protein source for breakfast. Pick out a good starchy carb source and then maybe some healthy fats to include, and kind of go through each macro for each meal. We suggest somewhere between 3 to 5 meals per day. That's kind of the sweet spot for most people, but again, this is totally flexible and totally depends on what you're used to eating. You don't have to eat 6 meals per day. You don't have to eat only 3 meals per day. You can make it work to fit your schedule, and the most important thing always is to just hit your calories by the end of the day. That's like the king golden rule. Hit your calories by the end of the day, you're still gonna make progress. And then my last tip for you guys today is to just be consistent. The 2 most important factors to any diet are consistency and adherence. If you're not consistent with your diet, how are we supposed to know that it's working? And as a coach, I don't change anyone's macros or calories unless they're being super consistent throughout the week. None of the other factors like sleep or stress are playing into it. And then maybe I'll discuss like, okay, maybe it's time for a calorie or macro adjustment. But I think that a lot of people don't see change and automatically change their calories right away, or maybe they don't see change and they're not being as consistent as they could be. So be consistent. That doesn't mean perfect, but you know, stick to the plan as best as you can. And if you can't hit your macros perfectly by the end of the day, start with just counting your calories. Counting macros can be super overwhelming if you've never done anything like this before, so I'll usually start my beginners just counting calories and maybe protein, because that's important too, letting carbs and fats fall where they may. So if you're overwhelmed, start with just calories, maybe add in protein, and then take it from there, and then you can add carbs and fats in later when you're a little bit more used to how to do this and what's going on. So those are my tips for you guys if you're just starting out with tracking your macros, or if you're looking into flexible dieting and it's something that is maintainable yet flexible enough to fit your lifestyle. Not everybody's flexible diet looks the same. Everyone's looks different, and that's what I love about it, is that it really is individualized to you and your life and your goals. Comment below if you are new to flexible dieting, or maybe you already practice flexible dieting, and let me know how long you've been doing it and what your goals are. I want to hear from you guys. So if you learned something, give this video a thumbs up, and I will see you guys in tomorrow's video. Bye!